Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stream. So we have Verity. Welcome to the stream. Dew, welcome back. I hope you're well. Hope you're self-isolating. if you're infected, of course you're probably not. That's good. Maintain social distancing at all times. This is your captain speaking. I hope everyone is well. We have 10 viewers so far. Welcome, Levi. Great to have you on. Great, another video. Can't wait. Can't make it watch it live, but we'll check it out tomorrow. No worries. Hope you're well. Can you hear me in the stream? Please let me know if you do. So get rid of some of these advertisements that are popping up. Now it's dropped down to 7 viewers. I'm not sure what's happening here. Scott's dog, welcome. Early for once. Loud and clear, that's great. Hi John from Denmark. Hope you're well. That's great. So we'll wait for a few more people to come on the stream as usual before we begin looking at some content. And tonight is going to be quite interesting, I think, because of what's happening in the United States. Some crazy things happening on at the minute over there. So it says we're up to 8 viewers. So of course my software always is a little bit behind. So how is everyone managing with their lockdown? So I was speaking to some family members in Ireland today, and from their point of view, there doesn't seem to be really a lockdown going on. A lot of the people who live in where I'm originally from are going about their business as normal. So how are things where you are? Unfortunately, here in Italy, we're still under our lockdown. It's starting to fray some nerves. So I've been on Facebook a little bit today, and I've noticed a lot of Italians are quite upset about the current situation. Amadeus, welcome. Not back on Twitter yet? No, I haven't received any notification from Twitter about my suspension. And I'm going to have a few things to say about that tonight. Trump going insane. He's always been insane, but now he's really cranked up the volume of his insanity up to 11. From next week, I can get a haircut again. Lucky you. So that's interesting because a lot of hairdressers and barbershops have been closed, of course, for the lockdown. But in some countries, I think in Austria, barbershops and hairdressers were actually open, because one of the reasons being that it was for disabled people. So it was a necessary service for many disabled people for hygiene reasons. So it was important for them to remain open. But I imagine, John, you'll be very happy to have your hair cut by a professional, perhaps, for a change, unless you've been doing it yourself. Still locked down in the UK. Yes, I think Trump is unhinged. Going autocorrect is my nemesis. It was sarcasm. I really am very worried about what's happening in the United States because of what Donald Trump has been saying just today. This is a new low for Trump. So fortunately to me, today I was able to go out for a little bit of a walk, but everything is completely closed still. There is talk in the region where I am in. So I'm in the Veneto region, which is next door to Lombardy, where Milan is, and where the epicenter is at the moment in Italy. but the president of the region, or the governor of this region, wants to start opening up things, even perhaps next week. Are people in Italy really upset with the EU? There has been, it's hard to tell, because I haven't been speaking with a lot of people in person, but online there seems to be a lot of anger with the EU because of these Eurobonds, because Italy wants to issue Eurobonds in order to get money quickly in order to deal with this crisis. But some countries, mainly the northern European countries, don't want to go down that road. And a lot of people in Italy are angry with the EU over this. Now, the EU president has come out and apologized to Italy directly for the union dragging its feet in a way. And I think this was important. But I really think we need to start providing some sort of resources for people. And of course, I'm an advocate for a UBI, a universal basic income, and I think it would go a long way to reducing tension here, because a lot of people are worried about the future. A lot of people are suffering financially, and in certain industries there's no support for them. Sam Priest, welcome. I'm going to have Rastus. Trump is going to cost a huge number of lives, yes. So just waiting for some more people to come on the stream, and then we're going to have a look at this Wee Scott's dog. But you're right, it's his complete indifference to and attempts to use the virus for his own political gains at the beginning, ignoring it, calling it a hoax, talking about how the Democrats were using it as a tool against him. And now he's talking about opening up the country by any means necessary. I agree with UBI. I'd love a UBI right now. The EU meeting started today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. I think there's a meeting tomorrow. That Scottish guy, welcome. Cotton Cat, sorry, welcome. In 5511, welcome. Hi Max, something positive about the EU. My country apologized to Italy in Parliament. Hope you're okay. We're very well, yes. There is some anger in Italy at the moment regarding the EU, but it's hard to tell whether it's real or whether it's just online. There's a lot of it online for sure. But of course, there are certain political entities who would like to take advantage of that anger. Did you see the video with Cuomo? It was awesome. No, I didn't see that video. I was looking at a few videos before coming on the stream, just getting some information to talk about, but I didn't see the Cuomo one. I think Andrew Cuomo is really on fire at the moment, and there has even been talk about him replacing Joe Biden as the nominee. Now, I don't know if that'd be a good idea for the Democratic Party, but they'd be more likely to win, I think, with Andrew Cuomo. But I don't know if Cuomo is interested in doing that, or if he even can. UBI is a funny thing. 20 years ago, we calculated... ho, welcome. 20 years ago, we calculated that in Finland could save 2 billion Finnish... I don't know the currency in Finland. Even with a flat tax. Hello, Paul. Just back from educating the idiots of Meyer Tussauds channel. Oh my god. My gut feeling is the EU will survive this. Yeah, I'm not very good at predictions, but I think if the EU comes to the rescue for many nations, then the EU will survive this. But it is a serious challenge to the EU, not something that can be taken lightly. We in the Netherlands are angry for the insults towards the Netherlands from Italy, Spain, Portugal, France. We are clear, no Eurobonds, Henk. Lots of cookies, welcome. You can watch it later, I loved it. Okay, I'll check it out later. Thanks for that. I understand some of the anger from the Netherlands towards countries like Spain and Portugal and Italy because of the mismanagement many governments have conducted with money from the state or from the European Union. I think it's getting better. There's better transparency regarding European money, and but I understand and I am sympathetic to the demands and the worries of countries like the Netherlands and Germany and Denmark, who fear that money sent to the south of Europe goes into, bridges to nowhere and things like that, and it is a real issue that needs to be dealt with. How does one donate to the channel? One has one of the only sane voices left on the intertubes. Thank you very much. Lots of cookies. I'll post the link again. Normally at the beginning of the stream I post the links. Just bear with me for a moment. Here we go. So you can send a donation directly through the stream, or you can do it through PayPal. Thank you very much. Damn, just searched ABC Cuomo to find it. Evening, a bit late to the party. Sorry, no worries. Thanks for coming, John. Hope you're well. But Trump doesn't do maths. Austerity after this will kill Europe. Austerity is the last thing we need. Yes, I'm afraid, Finlay, it's something that many countries will jump for, in the sense that they will jump at the idea of having the chance to impose austerity, because we have to remember austerity is a means to punish the poor and enrich the rich. And it doesn't fix problems, it just makes them worse. We've seen in the UK, for example, the 10 years of austerity have done so much damage. You see the NHS, the state it's in at the moment, and I'm going to talk a bit about that later. Without trying to sound too much like a ghoul, I think that the British public will realise the failures of the government soon, due to increased reports of lack of PPEs and the initial delay with lockdown. Yeah, there's talk that the current projections point to about 40,000 dead in the UK due to coronavirus. And these are not including nursing homes and care facilities. So the current trend is pointing at about 40,000. And that's quite scary. Well, maybe the countries that are upset can issue a badge to get their carers. My God. Are people in Italy upset with China? Here in Sweden, people are upset with China. Also in the UK, at the beginning, no, because there was a lot of support coming in from China. But now there seems to be some anger towards China because of we need someone to blame, and it's easy to point the finger at China. Hi Frank, welcome. Luby welcome to the stream again. Great to have you back. Sorry I missed you on Tuesday. I fell asleep after a hard day in the garden. Well, a hard day in the garden is always a good tiredness, we say. It's not a mental tiredness, it's a physical tiredness, and that's always a better tiredness than a mental one. I've just finished listening to Tuesday's stream, so I'm all caught up. Wow, well done. I think the stream was 3 hours. So God bless all of you if you spend 3 hours listening to me. Frank, welcome. I hope you're well. I may repeat welcoming people into the stream. Apologies for that, or apologies if I miss you the first time. Is the social distancing mask wearing still working in Italy given the reopening of some shops? Are there any signs, hopefully not, of a second wave? So I was walking around today and I saw most people, 90% of people, even 95%, were wearing masks, which was very encouraging because the last time I went out, it was much less. So that's encouraging. And I think the numbers here in Italy are starting to drop. The new infections have declined. There was a slight increase in the number of deaths, but they are on a downward trend. So we're hoping that within a couple of weeks we'll be opening up businesses and shops and bars and restaurants again. Jacques, welcome to the stream. Diano, welcome. Andy, welcome back. But it's going to be... I've spoken to some people. Glenn, welcome to the stream. Killer, welcome. Sorry if I didn't say welcome before to you. I think I saw you writing something, but I didn't say hello. Apologies. 1,048 total dead in Scotland, reported by the National Office of Statistics. 780 in hospitals alone. 1 in 4 dying in care homes and the community. If that's Scotland's number, imagine what England's is. And the thing about Scotland is there's much better counting taking place. So it's much more transparent than England, for example. Cheers, young man. I feel great now. I've been called a young man. You've not missed much. No, David. No, we're still waiting for some more people to come on the stream. Remember, guys, to hit the like button. It promotes the stream, promotes the channel, and that'd be much appreciated if you can do that. Lots of cookies. Thank you so much for that kind donation. I'm not sure. It didn't appear because I don't have the alert. Just a moment. Alert box. I have to add that. I don't know why that didn't appear. Put it up again. Okay. That's awesome. I'd be happy to fly to Italy and spend 14 days in quarantine just to escape Hancock's policies. In fact, Italy would be my first holiday whenever life returns to normal. And if you're in the Venice area, let me know. We can have a spritz together. Or a cappuccino. Biden will win. He has the right VP. Who will win? Do you mean if he has the right VP? Who has he declared? Maybe I've missed the news if he's declared his VP. Who is his VP? Or who do you think his VP will be if it hasn't been declared? It would certainly help if China had stricter laws on proximity to too many people to livestock. Yeah, I understand that they're cracking down now, but blaming the Chinese doesn't really get us very far. See, this is Treviso, welcome. This idea now has turned to let's blame China instead of okay, we need to deal with the problem that we have. I understand what happened in China is a disaster and it's affecting us as well. But blaming China doesn't fix the problem we have here. We need to fix the problem we have here. We need to look at what went wrong, and then we can deal with China, whatever way that has to be. Diplomatic telling off or whatever. There are lies, damn lies, and coronavirus statistics. Max, how do you see the failing of the EU in my book? The EU is dead. I don't think it's dead. It depends on how long this crisis goes on for. The longer it goes on, the worse it is for the EU. I accept that. Glasgow Kiss, welcome to the stream. Great to have you on board. Night Raven, welcome. But it depends on how long it goes on for. Biden has no chance. I tend to agree. Biden was going to declare who his VP is, but he forgot who he had picked. Bavaria's minister Markus Söder is very probably going to be the first Bavarian minister in history to recommend against opening the beer gardens. Wow. He won't be too popular after that. Biden is old politics. Trump is also old politics. Nothing will change after the elections in America. I mean, Biden has to have a right VP, vice president, and he has not declared her yet. Meister, welcome to the stream. I've got the right day at last. Mark Franks, welcome. Biden will not win. The vice president will win for him. I don't agree with that. Because people don't vote for the vice president. People vote for the president. Now, I could be wrong and this could change, but generally it doesn't work that way. Even a fantastic vice president, at the end of the day, people will vote for the president, not the vice president. Of course, a good vice president helps, but people will always vote for the president first. I see we're doing the poetry on Tuesday's stream. Yes, we love We Scots Dogs poetry. A Different Bias Today had an interesting video regarding that report that government warned 2 years ago that they were underprepared. So much could have been done to prepare. Yes, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that as well. Not about the video, but about some of the preparation that took place, and it's quite interesting what happened a few years ago. Talking Ireland is pubs will open in September at the earliest. Oh my god, that's a long way away. But it's understandable because pubs are not places that are easy to allow social distancing. So it's going to be difficult to open places like that. Bars, where you can have some sort of social distancing, will probably be allowed to open. Bashiro, welcome. But I think restaurants, if they can serve food outside perhaps and maintain mask wearing and stuff like that for the staff, will probably be accepted. But it's difficult to see how things are going to pan out. But I think, yeah, places like pubs would probably be the last to open. Pubs and restaurants, I think, because they have difficulty in maintaining social distancing. Are you concerned, as me, that we haven't heard from James Berry in a while? That's I hope he's fine. I hope he isn't ill. Maybe he's taking some time off Twitter or off YouTube and social media. I actually just thought of that now. I haven't seen any comments from him for a while. He had gone off commenting on my videos for a while, some weeks ago. And then he came back. And if he's gone again, maybe he's just decided I'd prefer to go comment on someone else's videos. But no, I haven't seen anything in the last few days. If the VP is a woman, an African American or Latina, she'll flock all the voters for him. It'll help her, but I still think it's the issue is people vote for the president, the main candidate, not the vice president. Now, one of the reasons Joe Biden was chosen in 2008 by Barack Obama was this belief that he was needed to shore up the working class white vote, and many people believe that helped Obama a great deal. So what you're saying could be true, but I don't know if it's enough to. I don't think there's enough enthusiasm surrounding Joe Biden in order for him to win. You need a certain amount of enthusiasm, I think. Given that the WHO is throwing doubt on gaining immunity from reinfection, what do you think this will mean for government policy regarding reopening? I'm quite disappointed about the WHO with some of the comments that they made at the beginning of this year about how there wasn't any evidence of it transferable from between humans, how many things like mask wearing were not necessary, and it's quite worrying. And I think this idea that you had said, just let me go back to what you had said. Hi Richard. Hi Christopher, welcome. So the doubt that there'll be immunity. Hi Kim, welcome to the stream. Hi Giorgio. So this idea that there'll be immunity from reinfection through immune. Sorry, because so if they put in doubt that you get immune from because you got reinfected. You can't get reinfected because of immunity from the first time, if I understand correctly. It's worrying. It points more and more in the direction that herd immunity will require a vaccine, and we're still at least a year away from a vaccine. Like I think I talked about this in the last live stream. How I think I did. In order to have herd immunity, you need to have you need to have a live stream. You need to have a vaccine, and a vaccine takes time to produce, to develop and produce. Then you need to manufacture it. Then you need to roll it out. You need to distribute it and immunize the population. Now, I don't know if you need 90% or 100% of the population vaccine with the vaccine in order to have sufficient herd immunity, because herd immunity is just you have enough people protected that even people who are not immune to the illness are protected by the herd, in a sense that they maintain they keep the virus at bay, they keep the virus away because they don't allow it to transfer from one human to the next. And it's worrying if people who had gotten sick can get it again. It means that we need to have a vaccine. And it means that we're going to see much longer lockdowns, which is interesting to the point we're about to look at here from Donald Trump. 60-70% is herd immunity max. Okay, thanks for that, Mark. I thought it was much higher, but it makes sense that you don't need 100%. 60-70% is sufficient. Heard that herd immunity crap was filtered through America, and Trump, stable genius, folks, stable genius. See, it comes down to the vaccine. If you don't have a vaccine, you need to infect most of the population, and you have a huge number of deaths. So if you don't have some sort of lockdown to protect the public. So this is the thing. Many people seem to think the lockdown is about gaining control of people. It's about suppressing people's rights or whatever. It's about protecting the public. I was sent a request today from the NHS blood donation for antibody plasma donation trial levels for COVID recovery patients. So that's an interesting one where you're going to see the antibody. So there has been cases where antibodies from people who have recovered help others to recover. But it seems to be only working in cases where people are extremely sick. So it's not going to be feasible for everyone. The percentage for herd immunity varies depending on the virus. These leaks garbage and doesn't affect anything. He will address that shortly when the show really goes on. Matt, welcome. Hi, Max. I don't know if you're already covered Sweden, but here in Gothenburg, cafes, parks, and outdoors in general were significantly today. And yesterday, now the weather is nicer. So things are as normal, probably, in Sweden. Most outdoor cafe I saw today is pretty full. Wow. I think Sweden is playing with fire, actually. I think it's extremely risky what they're doing. I think after I made the video, I saw actually the situation in Finland, which has much lower cases than Sweden, and they are under a lockdown. So at the beginning, it looked like Sweden was doing well, but it seems to perhaps things are changing. But there is no lockdown at the moment in Sweden. There's no evidence of escape from the lab. A microbiologist at the University of Edinburgh wrote an email. This is Washington Post. Is that the article you talk of? I believe it will backfire on Sweden. I hope it doesn't. I hope Sweden is successful in dealing with this, but it's going to be it's extremely risky what they're doing. Oh man, 45 blood. Liberate us from him, please. So we're up to 84. That's great. So I just want to show you this extremely worrying collection of tweets by our old friend Donald J. Trump. Let me see if I can close these ads. Okay, so it says here, so just to give you a bit of background, there are three states in the United States that are currently, if I'm not mistaken, each of these three states have a Democrat as the governor. So these states are the state of Virginia, Michigan, and Minnesota. And they have implemented a lockdown. And we've seen protests. I'm going to show you a video in a moment of some protests taking place. I think it was in Minnesota. And these people who carried out these protests are Trump supporters. And many of them turned up at these protests carrying fully loaded M16s and AR-15s. Dressed like soldiers, basically. And during these protests, Donald Trump, you can see here, now I didn't compile this picture. This was actually compiled by a news website. But the time stamp you can see is 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 9 minutes. So I think they all happen more or less at the same time, a few minutes apart. But it says here, liberate Virginia and save your great Second Amendment. It is under, I don't have the rest, probably under attack. Liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota. This is insane. You have the President of the United States demanding that people, protesters, overthrow their elected leaders. Because when he's saying liberate in what sense? Of course, Donald Trump is extremely vague in his requests. But so the First Amendment is the protection of freedom of expression and free speech. The Second Amendment is about gun rights. So Donald Trump is talking about save your Second Amendment. Okay, he should say your Second Amendment rights, I assume, because save your great Second Amendment. Save it from what? Okay, he's not someone who makes a lot of sense here. Of course, Donald Trump never makes a lot of sense. But this is a call to arms. This is a request for people to to respond. And he's not asking the general public. This is a message for his supporters. Excuse me. And his supporters are normally the people who walk around streets loaded up with weapons. Okay. And this idea that liberate your state. This is the type of language that was used in the 1860s, during the American Civil War. This is the type of, I don't know, is Donald Trump attempting to be some sort of neo-Confederate or something here? That he is demanding that these these states be liberated. Liberated from what? The problem here is that these states are under lockdown. And his supporters in these states want to return to work. They want to reopen their businesses. They want to ignore this virus and the consequences around it. And he wants the same to happen because he's probably losing money. His hotels and apartments or whatever are losing cash. Liberate the Mancini calendar. Correct. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. He's securing his base support. This is him using a crisis for political gain. But this is extremely dangerous because you have a dangerous group of people who've been told by their state, by their governor, we need to lock down. There's a crisis here. And you have the President of the United States contradicting the governor. Because he wants the United States to return to business as usual. And to hell with the consequences, whether people die or not. This is reckless. And and just to make it more insulting to me personally, I had my Twitter account suspended. And Donald Trump is perfectly safe by demanding that people rise up against their elected governments, elected administrations. The governor is elected by the people. And Donald Trump is talking about rising up against these governors. Liberate. What does he mean here when he says liberate? Free yourself. And of course he puts the Second Amendment here because he knows it's these gun nuts who are always riled up about losing their gun rights. Because there's always this section of the Republican Party who are convinced that Obama was going to come and take their guns. It's extremely worrying, so it is. We are toast here in America. Our president is hell-bent on having his way. He's acting like a dictator and tries using intimidation to get his way. Many governors are just as tough and will manage. Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss. I'm extremely worried how this is going to pan out. I understand, Anthony C., that some of the governors are quite strong as well, but you have very dangerous individuals getting involved here. You have these militia groups who have this victimhood status, who are constantly protesting, can we say, that they are the victim, that someone is coming to take their guns at any moment. They never fear that Donald Trump is going to take their guns for some reason, but it's always the Democrats are going to come and take their guns. And it's interesting that they protest against their so-called freedoms being taken away. Please, Max, tell us the story of the fertilizer and the hair dye. I don't know that one. Is about Donald Trump. And they can't ban Trump. The Supreme Court have stated the shite his official statements. I understand, but at what? Can someone not like delete his account by accident? Whoops! Sorry, it was an intern who started last week. He didn't know which button to press, and he accidentally deleted Donald Trump's account, and it's going to take us a couple of months to get it reinstated. There's a huge, and we need to update all our servers, and we'll do it, but it's going to take time. Couldn't they do something like that? Obama seems to be highly responsible for Biden. Yeah, I talked about this in the video about the response video to Kyle Kalinske, how Obama had an opportunity to do many great things, and he didn't. And because of that, we didn't see. We now see someone like Donald Trump in charge. Night Raven, thank you very much for that kind donation. You're a star. Max, you know the answer to where this is heading. You spoke of it in the video today. This day of reckoning is long past you. We are a totally divided nation. I'm very worried about the United States at the moment. You have this lunatic in charge who will do anything, will say anything. He's the type of person who would shout fire in a burning theater. Not a burning theater. How's the term goes? He'd shout fire in a crowded theater. He doesn't care about the consequences of his actions. You see it here. This is someone asking for crazy people to liberate their states. And what happens is they'll turn around. Some of these gun nuts will turn around and they will use violence. They will kill innocent people. And Trump will be, crying crocodile tears. Oh, how terrible. Let's send them some thoughts and prayers. These were crazy people. They weren't instigated. They weren't motivated by me. They were motivated by their own craziness. And he'll wash his hands of the situation. He does it all the time. And I'm very worried about what's happening in the United States at the moment. You have this lunatic in charge. You have these crazy people who are adamant. And it's not just the ones walking around with guns. Crazy people who are adamant about going back. I want to go back on the beach. I want to go back to the way life was before this lockdown. We're all suffering. Almost everyone in the world is suffering because of this lockdown. We want out of it. But we understand that certain things have to be respected. Certain rules have to be respected to protect the lives of others. Trump is a reactionist. That's what he's there for. That's what he lives for. Say something and that's what happens. Glasgow Kiss, thank you so much. You're a star. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for that kind donation. Trump's luxury hotels loses money when the New York is in lockdown. The motivation is money. Yeah, I agree, Verti. It's about his money. He wants to go back to business because he's losing money. He doesn't give a crap about his supporters. He doesn't give a crap about older people. It's all about what he wants. And I really hope that the people will ignore him. His world is getting smaller, and unfortunately, I think because of that, he's becoming more and more reactionary. There is a risk for him that he will be kicked out of office, and then he will be in serious trouble because there's a chance that he could be put in prison. He would lose a lot of money if he was put in prison. Him being in office protects him. But he knows, I assume he knows, that as soon as he becomes a liability for the Republican Party, they will dump him. They will refuse to return his phone calls. He will be dropped. And they will distance themselves from him. And he'll have no friends. If only Trump... Sorry, I missed one of the comments. Let me just scroll back up. Berger says, researchers looked at the genome. The virus originated in bats and used dog intestines as an interim place to reproduce until it entered the human population. If only Trump would shout fire in a burning theater, Trump would give the fire starter a Medal of Honor. Sorry, I misspoke there. Trump went from saying it's just the flu and a hoax projecting 150,000 dead, and his base say he's handled the situation well. Yeah. Unfortunately, I went on Facebook today because I don't have Twitter anymore. I've resorted to Facebook, which is a bad idea. And you just see comment after comment after comment of it's a scam. We want to get back to work. This is oppressing us. We need to be free. Donald Trump is on our side. Max, do we want to preserve the status quo? Who do you mean? Can you rephrase that question? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do we want? Is it a rhetorical question? I worry in the UK and the EU will clean up, and we open up to the USA, and it's only it only takes one or two infected people, and we're back to square one, and this UK government won't close the border to the USA. Yeah, that's a big issue. That's a big risk, and I said this before, that we can have our lockdowns, we can have our quarantines, we can eliminate movement between countries, but we can't stop everything, and there will always be some country in the world that will have cases, and there will always be movement in and out of that country. Oh, please God, let Trump go to prison. I'll renounce my ways. No, you will not. Tell the truth. Guillotine, yes, cotton cat. Trump is a victim, needs someone to blame to hide the facts that he's been way over his head in everything he does. In Daddy's shadow. Yes. So I'm missing some of the comments. So if I don't respond to your comment, feel free to write it once again. Trump's luxury. Some people actually think number 45 sent them the $1,200 from his own account. This thing of him, this was ridiculous and shameful. How he was right. He demanded that his name be printed on the check. This was clever in a way, because he knew that his supporters, would say, "Oh, look, see, I got a check from Donald Trump. I'm going to put it on my wall. I'm going to remember that when I go and vote in November. He gave it to me. He fought for that." Some of them probably think he actually wrote the check, from his own from his own bank account. But it's a propaganda tool. And why is there no one in the government holding him to account for this, stopping him from doing this? I understand the president has certain power, but this is interfering with the federal government. they shouldn't have actually sent checks. They should have just sent a bank transfer and left his name out. So we can't actually put in any characters. Trump in the prison showers with Leroy. No fake news there. Why did you get suspended from Twitter? So I talked about this in the last live stream on Tuesday about how. So what happened was during, I think it was sometime in early March, about a month ago, I was very angry with Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson was talking at the time about how he was shaking hands with people who had coronavirus and there was nothing to worry about. And he was talking about taking it on the chin. You know, the British people will just need to take it on the chin. And I got so angry with him about that I wrote on Twitter, at this stage, I wrote, I hope he gets it. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks later, my account was suspended. I understand that it was a stupid thing to say. And I didn't actually mean it. It was something I said in anger, in a moment of passion. Unfortunately, I paid the consequences for that. Now, is it worse than what Donald Trump has done? I don't think so. But of course, Donald Trump is protected by the Supreme Court. I'm protected by nobody. What is impressive is that the USA still use checks. How much the bureaucracy involved in printing out checks? You need somebody to type it, print it out, cut it out of the perforated paper. Will you get your account back? I don't know. Twitter is extremely vague about whether you can get your account back or not. So I explained that I meant it as a joke, and they said we'll review it, and that's it. And that was about a week ago, I think, or almost a week ago. Yeah, it was a week ago today. And I haven't heard anything since. Now, it could be also because they're receiving a lot of notifications and they're cancelling a lot of people at this moment, and they have not as much staff as they normally would. So that could be working against me as well. Just like the UK government, many rules and best behaviours is based on precedent and not codified as specific rules warranting punishment. The aegis who think Trump used his own money will have voted for him anyway. You know, like the local Bojack happens. Yes. Max, it wasn't a stupid thing to say. It was a prophetic thing to say at the time. I know I turned out to be right, but I don't think Twitter saw it that way. Max, just start a new account. Say it's James Barry is available. You guys are terrible. So I want to show you actually some footage from that protest. So let me just open it up. So the protest that took place that is related to what our old friend Donald J. Trump has been saying. So let me just bring up the video. For some reason I can still view things on Twitter, but I can't tweet anything. So maybe I'm not completely suspended, because I'm able to view things, but I can't actually comment. So this is I think the governor's residence. It doesn't say where it is. We have a couple of videos so we can see both of them, but it's somewhere in the US, maybe in Minnesota, where they are protesting against the governor who has implemented this lockdown. Now, it's very important to remember that these people are not protesting for a UBI. They're not protesting again for rent controls. They're not protesting for universal health care or to make sure that their costs for health care are covered by the by the state during this crisis. They're not protesting for any of these things. So I just want to. Kim wrote, I have a second YouTube account down for over a month after I issued 3 false copyright strikes, and it's a nightmare to get it back. Yeah, my account, my monetization from my YouTube account has been taken away. That's why there's no super chats tonight. But that's another story, and this is over a month ago. But let's see what these people are protesting about and what they're saying. First of all, you can see, well, nobody's wearing any masks, and there's no respect for, I don't see 6 feet or 2 meters between these people here. So they're showing complete indifference. Sorry, somebody said, Double Guitars, thank you so much for that kind donation. Thank you very much. So I see there's no respect for social distancing here. Everyone's piled up and they're standing outside this building. I'm very worried because many people, these people are stupid, okay, and some of them may get infected. But what they will do is they will go to the local supermarket, they will go to the local farmer, they will go to the local park or wherever, and they will spread the virus. Whether they believe there's a virus or not doesn't make any difference. Whether they want to get back to work or not doesn't make a difference. This is going to increase the spread of the virus. There's another video here. That's a nice dog. Okay, how many people are there here? One of the estimates I read, maybe it wasn't this protest, but there was another protest with 2,000 people at it. Social media blocking Max because that he's a tanky. If it wasn't for the US flags, I'd have said it was Westminster Bridge. This is the demonstration. The organizers themselves designated gridlock. They're going for the Darwin Award. This is why we can't have nice things. Yes, I had a Zoom chat with friends in North Carolina, and they said they have been protesting about the lockdown. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Hopeful state can start to reopen on the 1st of May amid protests. See, the 1st of May, how long has this state been under lockdown? Look, I'm not pointing to China as the perfect example, but there are certain things you need to have in place in order to reduce and eventually end the lockdown. You need to have massive testing in place. You need to have testing and contact tracing as well. So you need to be able to find out who is tested positive, how many people they've been in contact with, and be able to trace those people so they can be tested also. Is that happening in this state? I don't know. I think in California, for example, they have been much better at dealing with this than some of these states here. And then you also have the issue that many people are getting sick. They may not actually be treated when they go to hospital because maybe they don't have any insurance. Now, I don't know. There was news that Donald Trump was going to or this federal government, I should say, was going to pay for any treatment that people had. But I haven't heard any more news about that. I don't know if that's actually happened or not. If anyone knows in the comments, if you know that this has been implemented, please do say it. But many people are afraid about getting tested. Now, there's also the issue that some people, the tests take time. So many people will not be actually given sick leave until they have tested positive. So imagine a scenario: somebody feels ill, they want to get a test, but the company says, we're not going to lay you off, and we're not going to give you sick pay unless you test positive. So they go and get a test, they wait for the results. What happens during that time? They go back to work because they can't take time off. So what happens if they are infected? They're at work, and then they get the results back to say that they're positive. Then they can take time off. But during that time waiting for the results, they're infecting people around them. It's just insane. Let me see if there's so we just show you the rest of this video. Okay, but I understand the frustration about we need to get back to work. I have bills to pay or whatever. But these people don't seem to understand that if the virus has a second wave, many of these people may die. You won't have to worry about paying your bills. Somebody else will be paying your headstone bills, okay? Your funeral costs. Because if there's a second wave, it's going to take out a lot more people. And then we could also have a third wave and a fourth wave. That's why we need to test as many as possible. We need to have tracing of those in contact with those tested positive. And we need to have a lockdown. And what I was going to say at the beginning about China is that China had a lockdown that lasted almost 4 months. Now, I don't want to be locked down for 4 months. I assume you guys don't want to be locked down for 4 months. But maybe that's what's necessary in order to completely eradicate this problem. Let me just go back to the chat. They're trying to win the large gathering Darwin Award. Good to know the collectivism is alive and well. Soon, until less alive and less so well. As they say, they're with their own kind. Well, Trump did say when news of impeachment broke, if I'm removed, there will be civil war. Maybe he's angling for a paycheck, for a payback. Yeah. Exactly. If they die, they don't need a job or money. Trump said he would cover the virus costs, also give university students 6 months no pay. He says things. He's like Boris Johnson saying things. Donald Trump has said things, a lot of things in the past. Now, I haven't heard any updates on whether people who get sick will actually be covered if they go into hospital. There was talk about tests being free, but treatment not being free. And then Donald Trump's administration came out and said, yeah, we're going to look at making treatment free. But then I didn't hear anything more about it. Just because Donald Trump said it doesn't mean very much. When a village of Michigan hillbillies chooses to not follow distancing guidelines and meets their maker prematurely, they will see the light. Pun intended. I think Trump is banking on his armed supporters doing something stupid, forcing governors to do something. It's a very dangerous game, and I only see Trump benefiting from this. Because if these people go crazy and they attack the governor, for example, the governor will respond with violence, and then they will play the victim, and Donald Trump will play the victim as well. These people are just innocent patriots, and look at them being harassed by the government, look at them being harassed by their governor. We need to, they're just concerned citizens wanting to get back to their normal lives, and I'm the one who will deliver that. The Spanish flu had several successive waves. The second was more lethal than the first, and we're risking that if we don't deal with this crisis correctly. And unfortunately, we have the wrong people in charge, and we have people who are more concerned about, making sure their hotels have people inside, paying customers. Everything is about dealing with today. They don't care about the future. They don't care about tomorrow. I think that I saw them on People of Walmart compilation. Probably, yes. Pension companies are happy when you die, and they own the hospitals and drug companies. Someone's doing very well out of this. A full president proud of his idiot minions. Several sheriffs in Michigan announced they would refuse to enforce some of Whitmer's executive orders. Then put them into prison. You have a job to do. You can't refuse to do it. They're not asking you to commit war crimes. They're asking you to follow the law. And the law is you as a sheriff, you have to follow the law. Now, if they refuse, it'd be good propaganda for Trump and the Republican Party, but it's extremely worrying. But I think Trump is hoping for some type of civil war, as you guys have said. Just a moment, I want to show you another image. Just a moment, guys. Because I just wanted to talk a bit about the problems in the UK. So there was an interesting video from. Sorry, just wait to read some of your comments again. Okay, these people might be idiots that don't care or understand, but they don't have two halfpennies to rub together. What have they got to lose by protesting? I understand that. But they don't understand that they are being pawns in a political process, in a political game. So Donald Trump doesn't care about these people. Donald Trump, they think that Donald Trump cares about them, but he doesn't. He's using them as a tool. Watching the video shortly, developed a nut allergy. Really noticed the Irish coming out on Tuesday's vid, especially when you said violence. What did I say? Violence? Or violence? Max, I'm worried you might have cabin fever. You keep talking. Whoops, I missed your comment. Let me scroll back up. You keep talking about a bloody revolution rate lately. Maybe this is causing me to consider things in another way. The lockdown is causing me to think in historical contexts. Governor Cuomo is slapping Trump on a daily basis. You can't mess with an Italian in New York. No, mamma mia, no, you cannot. I almost died when I said that. Sarah Marin said that right-wing populists manipulate people who are frustrated or struggling by offering simple solutions to complicated problems. We see this with Farage, Trump, Boris. Yes. Build the wall. Brexit means Brexit. Get Brexit done. These are very simple messages to attempt to deal with very complicated problems. 1-1, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that kind donation. Expendable pawns going to demonstrations. And QA Library, welcome. Hi Max and Mods on Sexy Chat. Welcome to the stream. Those shares won't hesitate if they were asked to commit more crimes. There's no such thing as history, only the present repeating itself. That's interesting, Andy. Have you noticed Mrs. Max locking up the kitchen knives? And that's an interesting comment there, Night Raven. Yes, I have noticed a few knives have gone missing. Buried in the back garden. But I was before I came on the stream, I was watching a video, and it was quite interesting about what's happening, and not interesting but worrying what's happening regarding this situation in the UK. So back to the UK, we'll leave the US for a moment, back to the UK for a moment. But there is a risk that the UK could run out of gowns, medical gowns, for medical staff this weekend. So, and what Matt Hancock has been asking them to do, in some cases, is to repeat use of single-use gowns. Now, this is explained later on. Now, it's fantastic that QA Library is here, because he's a godhead on these things. He's an expert on these issues, and he may be able to correct something I say if it's wrong. But so it's interesting. So the government in the UK is attempting to deal with the problem of PPEs, okay, personal protection equipment, and there's a company in the UK, I don't remember the name, but they're producing 100,000 visors per week, and each visor costs about 50 pence. But they haven't been requested by the Minister of Health, by the Secretary of Health, Matt Hancock, for more visors. Now, that could be a good sign that they don't need more, that they have sufficient supplies, or it could be a bad sign that they haven't bothered to ask for more because they didn't think about it. I turn my underpants inside out sometimes. Max is 98 years. We need another revolution. Yes. Trailers for children is even more. I really hope they come back unused. Sorry, I just missed QA Library's comment, so let me scroll back up again. Mike, what sandwich are you your character eating? It's chocolate cake. It's not a sandwich. Remember, let them eat cake, although she didn't say let them eat cake, but she said let them eat brioche, which is like cake. Marie Antoinette. Start of a grim night. 2 runs to haul converted fridge trailers to the West Midlands for temporary morgues. Each trailer to hold 130 adults each. Oh my god. Trailers for children is even more. I really hope these come back unused. And QA Library also says we have donated 10 fridge trailers for Manchester, and we're pulling some others from Schmitz to the NEC. The 10 fridges haven't moved in 4 weeks. I have been the 10 fridges haven't been moved in 4 weeks and had been replaced, so they'll go to Schmitz once finished, to be sold or exported to use elsewhere. Eating Brexit cake. I think the hospitals that we had seen set up, these conference centers converted to hospitals, are likely not to be used as hospitals at the end of the day, maybe morgues instead. In a bad flu season, the NHS used trailers for years and years, and now they're shipping in lots of them. I think we have to take a step back as well. Sorry, just noticed. I noticed Mrs. Max has a slight Irish accent with her English language. she likes to hear that. She doesn't like her Italian accent for some reason. Washington Governor Jay Inslee accused unhinged Donald Trump of fomenting domestic rebellion and risking violence in a dangerous meltdown after president-backed lockdown rebels. You have the president siding with a rebellion against the federal. I don't know. It's not against the federal government, but against the state government. It's somewhat similar to a rerun of the American Civil War. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but it does sound something similar. Nightingale Hospital is a stage set for the moon landings. Okay. Global Twig welcome back. I haven't seen you in a while. The hospitals are just for the cameras. It does seem like that, yes. It's not even a Nutella cake to the guillotine. But in French, they don't use Nutella. In Italy, yes, but not in France. There has been a criminal investigation into the government for corporate negligence, for how much they have deserted the NHS, the HNS, health and safety protection of NHS workers. If this was any company, the director would be jailed. Phil at a different bias mentioned there was a plan in 2018 to address the known shortcomings in the ability to deal with the epidemics. It was killed to save money. Guillotine time. I agree. For example, there was a case. There was a war game called Operation Sickness. Now, QA Library may have heard of that. It took place in 2016, and it was one of the outcomes from this medical war game. In a sense, it was a scenario, a test case scenario. And one of the outcomes was about whether to stockpile PPEs or whether to rely on supply chains. Which do you think the Conservative Party decided on? The supply chain. So they decided not. This was in 2016. They decided not to depend upon stockpiles, but instead on receiving whatever equipment they needed through supply chains. Now, I don't want to be overly critical of them. Maybe there was the idea that maybe if we stockpile, this equipment may go bad in a way. It could go off. Maybe suits could get damaged in storage, or maybe filters or whatever would degrade over time. So PPEs. And maybe QA Library can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I imagine PPEs have a shelf life, and stockpiling them for a huge amount of time, for a long time, may not be feasible. But instead they decided to go the route of supply chains, and unfortunately we had a pandemic. So a supply chain could be feasible, could be a good idea in an epidemic where it's located, it's isolated in the country, the spread of the disease. But when you have a pandemic spreading all over the world, then a supply chain is not the way to go. Max, I heard the Italian government might be sued over nursing home deaths. That's possible because the Italian government run a lot of the nursing homes here, so that is a possibility. And we don't see numbers for nursing home deaths in the official figures, which is extremely worrying. Problem is, all it will take is one wrong word from Trump when tempers are running high. Yeah. All he has to do is say the wrong thing, and you have these people, charging against the governor's mansion, and you have the National Guard trying to hold them back. And then these people arrive with guns, and they think the president is on their side, and all you need is one nut to start shooting, and then things go really over the deep end. Max, have you heard of exercise sickness? Sickness in... Okay, I had misread it. I thought it was sickness. So this is the one. Exercise sickness. That's the one I was talking about in 2016. So I didn't have I just saw it from my video, so I didn't actually have the right name. So it's Operation Exercise Sickness. And the outcome of it was not to invest in stockpiles, but to invest in supply chains for PPEs. And we see the result. Max keeps me insane. When is the calendar coming? I was speaking to my wife about the calendar just before doing the live stream, and we had some ideas. So unfortunately, because of the lockdown, it makes the production of the calendar a little bit more difficult, but I do promise it will arrive eventually. Lee, welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. The Justice Secretary is in big trouble over his handlings of COVID in prison. Prisons were always going to be the weak underbelly, I think. Care homes, prisons, homeless shelters, for example. These are all going to be places that needed real consideration. And unfortunately, we as a society, I think, and especially a conservative government, had complete indifference, for example, to prisons and homeless shelters, for example. Don't underestimate France's addiction to Nutella. Last year we got riots here in the supermarket because Nutella pots were sold half price due to an error. France #1 Nutella fan. Okay, that's interesting. Asymptomatic New York mother unknowingly infects 17 of her 18 children with coronavirus. Oh my God. This is all Dominic Cummings' lines. Stay home, save lives, protect the NHS. Dominic Cummings has been very quiet of late. Okay, so something... Matt, welcome to the stream. So something else I wanted to talk about was maybe some good news. Finally, some good news in the UK. So it says here, this was in the video I was watching before I came on the stream. So they were talking about how the government is going to extend the support for many people who are out of work. So up to 80% of salaries paid, up to, I think it's £2,500 per month. And it's going to... Now, there is a fear, unfortunately, that many tens of thousands of people will not be included in this, unfortunately. Because what happened was they applied for this. So anyone who applied for this extra payment, this support, after the 28th of February, that was the cutoff date. And they were not part of the PAYE system. So when they changed job or they moved into the new PAYE system and they weren't, they missed that cutoff date, they will not be included in this extension of the financial support for people who are out of work. Now, I hope you guys in the UK, if you had need to avail of this, you are covered. Have any of you actually needed to avail of it? Have you been able to get it? PPE come in different levels of protection. It depends on the design and what chemicals that are sprayed on or manufactured in, and thus have shelf life. Yeah, so maybe at the time they thought, look, we need to depend on a supply chain instead of a stockpile. Normal plastic does not have PPE shelf life, but plastic bonds do get weak and damaged if stored for too long in the wrong place. Max, Trump can't say the right thing. He's always says the wrong thing. Max knows that this is anticipation strokes, that it's the anticipation strokes the passions, but rest assured I have it on good authority that Max has already been shooting for October Revolution theme. Just a fake fur hat. If you want a full list of US political and religious insanity, I strongly recommend the Dispatches from the Culture War. Both informative and funny. Their black humor keeps me going. I'm covered. My employers sorted it out for me. That's good. That's good to hear. They have that one. No, it's in the night that it's in the White House. Trump speech, 19 billion for farmers. Not preparing is similar to not vaccinating for chickenpox, which costs £80 as per niche. Social is grand, isn't it? How about the end of the year for the calendar, Max? I promise by the end of the year we will have a calendar. I promise. Trump campaign preparing to restart rallies. How many people will be infected by Donald Trump's rallies? Maybe he's hoping that they will survive long enough to vote in November. Then if they die, then he doesn't give a crap. I don't think a lot of people will take the COVID vaccine if it comes out. Yeah, that's another problem. So even if we do have a vaccine, a lot of people will decide, and I saw these people on Facebook today. A lot of them were, I don't want a vaccine. Vaccines are bad. Anti-vax people, of course. And you don't need a lot of them to wreak havoc in the community. And cost my brother to get back over 4,000 in flights, insured paid though. That's good. I know I'm late to the stream, but in following on from your Kal Kalinske video earlier, Trump has suspended student debt for 6 months. That can only be seen as positive, I guess. That's good, yeah. And I will commend people if they do the right thing. I think it's important that student debt is cancelled. But for 6 months, shouldn't it be completely cancelled? I don't understand cancelling student debt for 6 months. I think you need to cancel it completely. But I think anything is better than nothing. Dr. John Campbell, he talked a lot of the underbelly of care homes, prisons and shelters, but one group that's greatly affected are the help support groups, AA et al. Yes, volunteers and support groups, they are people who go out and help. They are, of course, going to be a risk factor. I don't take flu or shingles vaccines. Nudie Mind Max, tasteful, done of course. Discreet placement of pot plants. So cacti are good hardy perennials. Oh my god. I know someone who works in addiction. Meeting are taking place over video link and over phone. That's interesting, Glasgow case, but I think it's still not. It's good. It's better than nothing, but it probably isn't as good as the real thing. But I'm not knocking it. It's good that it's still happening. And it's good that they're not meeting in person, of course. It takes 6 months up to the election time. Democracy, where Ireland had election 8th of February. The two loser parties will form a government coalition in next week or two. So that's interesting, Connor. So why... but I think at the end of the day, there was going to be some type of coalition. So it was going to be Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil, or Sinn Féin and the Greens and some other parties. And unfortunately, Sinn Féin weren't able to work out a coalition with one of the main parties. And I understand the anger that a lot of people have, but unfortunately, they say that's the way the cookie crumbles, or the biscuit crumbles. But I understand the frustration, but it'll be interesting to see how long that coalition actually lasts. It may not actually last all that long. And then you would have elections again, and Sinn Féin probably would increase their vote. I'm looking forward to the Trump versus Biden debate. I feel really sorry for the comedians having to top them. Have you found that you're agreeing with Piers Morgan recently, as he seems to be actually taking... Yeah, he's done a complete 180. It's amazing. What has he been abducted by aliens and replaced with a clone or something? There may be no debates. Trump claimed he would not debate. I think he'll have to debate. If they don't debate and they leave an empty chair, it would look very bad for Trump. Biden could just sit there insulting Trump, and Trump wouldn't be able to respond, and it would look extremely bad. It would appear as I think it would be a sign of weakness for a lot of people, and I don't think it would go down well with the public. It would boost Biden's a great deal, actually. Now, if it was done via video link, that would be interesting. They'd be responding to each other with delays. That would be painful to watch, but it'd be interesting the result it would have on the public. The strange thing is that Piers Morgan has done a 180, so has the Daily Mail. I'm almost out of tea bags. Where's my gun? No, you don't run. I actually ran out of tea bags today. I have to go down to the store again. I have to put on my mask and gloves and go back to the shop tomorrow. Sir Antonius Block, welcome. So I just want to show you some of the news. Let me see. So this is interesting. Let me open it up here. About what's happening in the US from a positive point of view. We have here. Apologies if I'm always using The Guardian. It's just I find it... they cover a lot of different areas, and I find it a reasonably good newspaper. I don't agree with everything that they say, of course, but... and also it's not so heavy to view, because if we open some of the other newspapers, they tend to have a lot of advertising banners and stuff like that. So... this is Ilhan Omar unveils bill to cancel rent and mortgage payments amid pandemic. So it goes on to say, so I'll just read part of this and then I'll jump back to the chat. So Frank says, Max, listening to Biden babbling for a full hour could actually be good for Trump. I don't know. It could be good for Trump, but I don't think so, because it would all Biden would have to say is, "Where's Donald Trump?" In in an unironic way. Where is Donald Trump? Why didn't he turn up? Is he afraid? Why is he afraid? What's he afraid of? Show him as being a coward. Oh, he's a coward. He didn't turn up. Something like that's the way I would deal with it. So where is he? Why isn't he here? Is he afraid to answer to the American public? Is he afraid of his record? Is he afraid to answer questions? Why is he afraid? Is he just going to go on Twitter and respond? He's not able to do a two-way. What's wrong with him? Does he have some problems? Is he hiding? You could ask a lot of questions that would demean him. So don't forget to click the like. Yes, thank you. Smash the like button. A friend of mine called. Good night, everybody. Good night, Verti. Have a nice evening. Take it easy. Stay safe. Diana doesn't like the Guardian, but if I put up the Sun, we won't be able to see it with all the advertising. Okay, maybe you'd prefer the Sun or the Daily Mail. Anyway, it's not about what the Guardian has to say. It's more about what is happening regarding this bill that Ilhan Omar. So Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has unveiled a bill that would cancel rent and mortgage payments for millions of Americans struggling amid the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I don't understand why this wasn't already the case. Why are there so many people forced to pay rent? Here in Italy, they've cancelled rent. They've also cancelled mortgage payments. I know also in Ireland they've done the same thing. As far as I know, mortgage payments have been cancelled, but for sure rents have been cancelled, because I know people who are paying rent and actually rents. No, mortgage payments have been cancelled. No, rents I'm not sure. Now I have a doubt. But here in Italy, at least, mortgage payments have been cancelled and rents have been cancelled. For the most part. I don't understand why this isn't happening also in the United States. But let's see what else they have to say. Under the legislation announced on Friday, landlords and mortgage holders would be able to have losses covered by the federal government. The program would extend for a month beyond the end of the national emergency, which was declared on the 13th of March, and would be made retroactive to cover April payments. So, of course, after the 1 month after the end of the lockdown, for example. The proposal comes amid an unprecedented housing crisis. 31% of Americans in rental accommodation have not paid rent at the beginning of this month. Millions have lost their jobs since. Federal answers have been limited. The CARES Act stimulus package includes $12 billion for Department of Housing and Urban Development programs targeting homelessness and rental assistance, but those funds do little to address the needs of millions of Americans who now find themselves on the edge of acute housing insecurity. Of course, this is a win-win for everyone. So the federal government will pick up the tab, as far as from what I understand here, so that there will be some relief for landlords. But the problem is probably for landlords who get paid in cash, or who don't put it through the books, and they're going to lose out here. Because they're not going to go to the federal government and say, well, this is how much rent I actually get. You collect rent, really? We don't have any record of you collecting rent before. And a lot of them would probably are probably going to lose out. But it would certainly help a lot of people who are in rented accommodation. Calendar concept. French winemakers and harvesters create a nude, tasteful calendar. As his fellow harvesters saw photos of the calendar in progress, more and more offered to participate. Oh, you know she's married to her brother, right? Why so touchy? I don't know how that's relevant to what she's talking about here, but okay. When you say cancelled, does that mean they don't have to pay, or they have to pay later? No, as far as I know, so here, no, I actually say I should say suspended, so not cancelled. So here, mortgages have been suspended, so the payments have been deferred, which is, of course, not the same as cancelled, because if something was cancelled, it means you don't have to pay at all. So let me just say, she wants to cancel rent. So this would not be that the rents would be deferred. They would be, because there's a risk that if they are deferred, they are postponed. The landlord would say, okay, the crisis is over, now you owe me 3 months rent. And that wouldn't be good for a lot of people. Here in the UK, you get 3 months holiday, and you still need to pay the 3 months. Yeah, so it's a suspension. It's not a cancellation. So that's worrying for people. Now, I don't know how well this will go down, but we'll see. So the housing, so it goes on to say, answers are limited. The CARES Act, okay, but these funds do little to address, okay. So national housing groups have called for more funding for rental relief. The National Low Income Housing Coalition estimates that it would cost about 76.1 billion over 12 months to provide relief for the 11.5 million people who are already or soon will become severely housing cost burdened. The group is demanding $100 billion in emergency solutions grants towards short-term rental assistance. But many housing advocates are concerned that such assistance would fail to provide the long-term protection needed to prevent mass evictions. So, for example, in Ireland, as far as I heard, they have cancelled all evictions. So anyone who was due to be evicted for any reason will not be evicted for the next 3 months. A federal eviction moratorium established through the CARES Act extends only through mid-May, so quite a similar situation, prohibiting evictions within properties with federally backed mortgages. So that wouldn't actually include private banks. Without an enforcement mechanism or a clear way for tenants to find out if their property is covered, evictions have continued, which is extremely stressful and counterproductive. So you have people who, okay, they can't pay their rent because they've lost their job, so landlords are kicking them out. I understand the landlord wants the money, but at the same time, who's going to move into a flat or an apartment or a house at this moment? No one's moving. So people who are staying put are staying put. You can kick some people out, but they can't move into another apartment because of these restrictions as well. You're only going to be able to move into a place where someone else has been kicked out of. So the availability of new apartments is going to be extremely limited. And you're going to have huge amounts of homelessness. And then this is going to be another problem for the state. Kim, good night. Have a good evening. Stay safe. So without an enforcement mechanism, okay, evictions. Omar's bill seeks to tie federal funding to clear renters' protections. In order to receive funds, landlords and lenders would be required to follow a set of fair renting and lending practices for 5 years. Good luck with that. These terms would prohibit rent increases, evictions without just cause, discrimination against voucher holders, and more. Any owner or mortgagee who breaks the terms would be subject to a fine. I think there'd be a huge amount of resistance to that. Because if you imagine, many politicians probably have property and they're making a lot of money from that. There's been 6 months moratorium on evictions in Australia. 6 months, that's a long time. Mission Governor, I know that there's a lot of businesses and people who are hurting right now, but the fact of the matter is it's better to be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. And that is the whole point of this. We've got to save lives. And she's correct. But whether these people will believe that is another thing. Spitting image. President Reagan's brain made love to a turtle to create something faster. Sadly, neither Trump nor Biden seem mentally sharp. So who runs the show is either, if either is elected. Remind me tomorrow so I can phone my friend who is running the family company. They are an estate agent with a number of rented property. That's interesting. Have you seen the word going around that Keir Starmer campaign was contributed to by pro-Israel factions? No, I haven't seen that. There was some mention of a guy who had raised money for Keir Starmer. That was some months ago. I read about that. I don't know if it was true or not. The UK government is covering wages up to £2,500. The Tories are just pushing back the massive job losses by 3 months. When people go back to work, their business environment will not be the same. No. Things are going to completely change. We're not going back to normal. We're going to a new normal. Max, there would be resistance, no doubt, but this is broadly what is required regarding rents. Now I'm the tech, I guess. Cancel means cancelled. Suspended means I'm coming to get you later, yes. A care worker was attacked by BBC Newsbeat earlier, whether she would be buying one of the new care badges, and said, no, they're being sold for £8.99 and my wage is £8.75 an hour. Says it all. Why are members of the NHS expected to buy these badges? Shouldn't they be given them for free? Members of the public should be buying the badges. Maybe I'm not understanding the badges at all, but if it's about raising money for the NHS, if that's what it's about, why would members of the NHS be forced or be expected to buy them? I'm getting very angry. How can the UK have no company that can make medical gowns in national emergency? So much for the mighty UK. I'm lost on that, Anthony. I've really confused how there isn't a company who can make these gowns. I honestly think we're at a stage where the Conservatives don't want to spend money. That seems to be the only answer I've come to. They don't want to spend money. They'd prefer that the staff reuse gowns that have already been used and are single use, because they don't want to spend money on new ones. QA Library says the badges are £1.20 and they can only be bought in batches of 100. But this issue of medical gowns, it's absolutely necessary to have these gowns. I don't know what type of material they need, but surely it's possible that some company in the UK can make these gowns. I know the industry has been somewhat gutted over the last 10 years, the last 20 years even. But surely there must be at least one company that can produce these gowns. And the government say, look, we'll give you a very good contract to produce these gowns. We'll pay you double. These companies will say, fantastic, we have a great contract. We're going to hire 10 times the staff we have. We're going to run the factory 24/7. We're going to make a huge amount of money, and that's beside the point. And you would be able to do it. I don't understand why there isn't this availability. The only thing I can think of is that they don't want to spend that money. But why? The actual cost is nothing compared to spending money on Trident, or compared to spending money on Brexit, for example. There was no concern about the cost of Brexit. But there seems to be a concern. I don't know. Maybe I'm being disingenuous. But I'm trying to find out why there is a problem with producing service of goods that are needed for hospitals in the UK. They are easy to use, but it is tooling and set up that will take time. And the UK government are completely and utterly fairly the British people, failing the British people. Anybody that thinks otherwise is beyond delusional. Government pays British Airways to fly to China to bring back 2.5 million face masks and gloves crammed inside every passenger seats for the UK frontline workers. That's one way to do it. Other countries have done that. Can't they get someone just had two shirts together? I think it's a bit more complicated than that, James. Safer and cheaper to use disposable gowns. I don't think it's about money, just the idea of even temporarily needing a command economy just makes them feel faint. Perhaps they feel it will go too well. That's very interesting, Scott's dog, that they'd be afraid that it would actually work. There was actually an interview on Channel 4 with a politician, from a Tory politician. I'm trying to remember exactly what she said. Let me see if I can find the video and I will show it to you. It was eye-opening. Just bear with me for a moment. I can't find that video. Perhaps this was it. Just bear with me for a moment. We can see it together.
welcome to MHS. Congratulations!
Apologies.
Boxed up, ready to go. A few weeks ago, this factory's biggest clients were people making kegs. Now it's NHS truss. Faced with a global shortage of personal protective equipment, the machines at this Midlands manufacturer now.
So this is very interesting. So it's showing in this video we see this company producing feed the hamster company producing mass visors for the NHS.
Pumping up face visors morning, noon and night. But while ministers say there is a supply shortage of PPE around the world, the boss here says there is capacity among UK firms.
As of now, we're making 100,000 a week.
100,000 a week. What could you go up to?
Oh, I reckon easily 500,000 a week.
How much do these cost?
For this mask here, about 50p each. So they're throwaway items that the nurses, the doctors could use, care home workers could use, and they throw it away. At the end of the day, it can be recycled to make new plastic.
Some of the urgent equipment needed is pretty complicated kit, like ventilators. You can't just start cranking them out overnight. But much of the equipment there have been shortages of. It's pretty simple. And with the right manufacturing, you can mass produce it quickly, cheaply, and here in the UK. The frustration in many quarters has been that efforts like this could have been up and running from the outset.
At the virtual House of Commons Health Select Committee hearing today, the Health Secretary Matt Hancock was asked about the government's PPE preparedness again.
We have a global shortage of PPE.
And again.
I would love to be able to wave a magic wand and have PPE fall from the sky in large quantities.
Okay, that was a ridiculous thing to say. Yeah, I'd like to have PPE fall from the sky, wave a magic wand. You don't have this because you didn't have the right mechanisms in place at the beginning. Why is it possible that Germany was able to deal with this? In Italy, we didn't have problems of PPE. We were able to get our hands on them in the middle of the crisis. The UK had some time in advance to deal with that, and they didn't do anything. But maybe what Wee Scott's dog has said is correct, is that they would be afraid that if it was possible to do it right, people, and it worked, it would be expected in the future. It's better to fail than actually do it right, because at least if you fail, then you don't have to do it the right way.
Shortest supply, hospital gowns. Factories across the UK have switched to stitching them together, but under new guidelines for their use, Mr. Hancock said it will be a struggle to ensure hospitals don't run out this weekend.
We are tight on gowns. That is the pressure point at the moment. We have another 55,000 gowns arriving today, and we're working on the acquisition internationally of more gowns, but it is a challenge.
The Health Secretary said...
Okay, well, why is it a challenge? You can either get them or you can't. And I think it still goes back to this problem of there was not proper preparation for this. And now we're attempting to make excuses. We're attempting to fix the problem on the fly. The idea that government could have done this, government could have worked and fixed this, prepared properly, but it was better to leave it to the private sector. We don't want government getting too involved here. We want the private sector to deal with it. Yes, it was correct. The media are humping the two different machines as one. Lumping the two different machines as one. Regarding Germany, their Conservative Party actually have a competent leader, remarkably Angela Merkel. They have 500,000 tests a day. This is the problem. There isn't enough testing taking place. They're not doing it because the public would demand these supplies would be manufactured in the UK. In the future, money versus China, it's a money game. I would say it's hilarious if it wasn't tragic. Personally, I don't believe in the command economy. All previous attempts suggested that it doesn't work. But all is not black and white. Horses, of course. Horses for courses. Yes, maybe it requires a mix of the two. Governments for Brexit, get it done.
Coronavirus testing would now be extended to include the police, fire service and prison staff, although the number being tested daily is still less than half his promised 100,000 by the end of the month. And on Thursday he said there had been 847 new COVID deaths recorded in UK hospitals. The total now stands at just over 14,500, but the committee was told that number could rise significantly.
The recent
Sorry, just want Cotton Cat says, I was thinking maybe you could hack the badge production system to advertise your calendar while receiving funds from the NHS. You're more reliable than UK government to handle. God forbid that they'd actually make too much and have a surplus for the next pandemic. My respiratory therapist is stressed as F. With the still bare areas, they need hazmat suit. I really hope that we're going to learn from this pandemic that we need to have the proper tools for the staff, we need to have the proper equipment available in hospitals, and we need to have the proper funding. You know, it's too late now to say, okay, let's spend a huge amount of money on, for example, the NHS. Because you can't just throw money at the problem, because you need experienced staff, and to have experienced staff, they need to be trained. They need years of experience built up in order to be able to do their job correctly. You need highly skilled managers, people, coordinators, and you can't just pull these out of the air. You realize they're making them pay for the badges as well. So I need to do a bit of research on this badges issue, because I just saw you guys commented about the badges, and I'm not exactly sure what's the story with these badges. Is it a badge to raise money for the NHS, or is it a badge that people wear to show that they're no longer infected, or what is it about? Wonder what the